Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa usalli wa usallim ala nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. The scientific method. Imam Sa'di rahimahullah wrote a book explaining that Islam and its knowledge-based sciences have incorporated all worldly goodness and benefit, and that sound and beneficial worldly sciences come within those sciences, there being no clash between Islamic sciences and sound worldly sciences. This is contrary to what is claimed by the people of ignorance and of disbelief. The religion of Islam has directed mankind to every type of beneficial knowledge related to the world or the hereafter. The scientific method is a sequential, systematic, and beneficial way of studying what is called the natural world, which is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this interview, we explain that the scientific method is in its correct application, its scope and limitations, and how it is simply a tool, not truth in itself, which can be used for good but which can also be abused to deceive, disadvantage, or harm people in their knowledge, beliefs, and or beneficial interest. Science, since "science" means to know, is any of system of knowledge that is concerned with the physical world and its phenomena, and which entails unbiased observations and systematic experimentation. Science confines itself to claims which are fully defined, unambiguous, testable, measurable, and repeatable. In the scientific method, all events have causes. Number one, the entire modern-day scientific enterprise developed out of the desire of believers in a creator to understand the workings of creation. This enterprise has to assume order, regularity, contrivance, and some degree of meaning and purposefulness in what is being studied. Biochemist and self-physiologist Gilbert Ling writes, for a long time most practicing scientists shared the belief that the set of step-by-step procedures to find truth called the scientific method was invented in the West. In fact, this belief is totally wrong. The scientific method was invented by an Arab, Ibn al-Haytham, or it is a Latinized version, Al-Hasan, who lived in the Islamic Golden Age between 1965 and 1040, Al-Hasan 2013. The West did not adopt the scientific method until the post-Renaissance of early modern period, and then wrongly attributed its invention to Galileo Galilei, René Descartes, Robert Boyle, and others. The more organized truth-seeking that followed the adoption of scientific method has been known as modern science, or simply science, to be distinguished from the earlier disorganized intellectual effort called natural philosophy. A unique gift that the scientific method has given to modern science is a way of experimentally falsifying a hypothesis. Nothing like it had existed before, by making it possible to determine if one's own hypothesis or that from others has validity. The scientific method had also transformed the search for truth from one of isolated individual activities to the cooperative activities of an open-ended group of individuals or groups of individuals worldwide. Number two, science is a process of assembling an interconnected structure of descriptive claims about how nature works. It's defined as the process by which scientists collectively and over time endeavor to construct an accurate, reliable, and consistent representation of the world. The goal of the scientific method is to ascertain the presumed cause of an effect. The scientific method is employed to investigate apparent material cause of effect relationships within and between natural phenomena, with a view to developing mechanism theories through observations, hypothesis, experimentation, logic, and inference. All scientific knowledge must be based on observation and must have empirical foundations, meaning that which is fundamentally based on concern with or verifiable observation or experience rather than speculation, theory, or pure logic. Theories which cannot be tested do not qualify as scientific theories. Astronomy, theoretical physics, epidemiology, cosmology, evolutionary biology, anthropology, by way of example, are not sciences because they do not involve the scientific method. There is no such thing as the science because this word simply means knowledge. All we have is a method for the systematic study of what is called nature, creation. The statements such as I trust the science, I believe in science, I follow science come from ignorant people. What you can say is the current status of the knowledge or understanding of this phenomenon or processes is such and such. Science is a method that deals in cause-effect relationships. Science is a tool, just like a gun, knife, saw, hammer, and a screwdriver. Tools not comprise truth. They are used by people with the different intentions and for different purposes. Just one man may use a gun to rob a store, another may use it to defend himself or others. In the same way, the method of science can be used to pursue and disseminate truth or conceal أي نعم يعني distort or obfuscate it. Intentions, motives, and integrity determine how the method is used. The word science is commonly used and brandished to support claims without knowledge or understanding as what it is really as to what it really is. The word science is not synonymous with truth and fact. Computer or mathematical models cannot replace empirical testing of hypotheses through systematic experimentation in the real world. Whatever cannot be directly observed or subject to manipulation by an experimenter is not from the knowledge that is gained through the scientific method. In the scientific method, cause-effect relationships are determined and varied through the generation of hypotheses based on observation of phenomena. The phenomena being studied are actions, processes, interactions, and not just mere entities on their own. Observation is the collection of clearly identified and verified facts describing a phenomenon or a group of phenomena. A general proposition is made in which a common causal connection or relationship between these facts is stated, and this is the hypothesis. Number 5, these hypotheses are then rigorously and systematically tested through repeated experimentation involving manipulation of what is called the independent variable or the presumed cause. Through repeat application of the scientific method over time, a more and more accurate working knowledge of the phenomena being studied is gained. 6. A key feature of the scientific method is devising and performing experiments to confirm or reject the hypothesis by incorporating falsification. The criterion of the scientific status of a theory is its falsifiability or refutability or testability. These experiments must be empirical and inferences derived from them must be devoid of logical fallacies. Number 7. The word theory has a specific meaning in relation to the scientific method and is different to the common meaning of the word. When a hypothesis is being verified and validated, the understanding of that phenomenon then becomes a theory. You cannot have a scientific theory without a validation of a hypothesis or a collection of hypotheses. Number 8. Ambiguity detracts from the scientific nature of a claim or hypothesis. There must be zero ambiguity or close to zero ambiguity in the field of science before any idea is claimed to be a theory. All ambiguity must be removed. Words, terms, and phrases that have more than one meaning are ambiguous. My car is better than yours is ambiguous because better can mean so many things. My car is faster than your car is better, but still has ambiguity, as fast can also mean different things such as top speed, acceleration, and speed when turning. A nearly ambiguous claim is my Ferrari 250 GTO can accelerate faster from 0 to 60 mph in a straight line than your BMW 5 series on the Formula 1 race circuit in the Italian autodrome. This hypothesis can be tested empirically because it has been tested clearly without any ambiguity or wanting in detail. Non-ambiguity is the main distinction between a scientific claim and science fiction. Number 9. An important point, pseudoscience is defined as beliefs or practices mistakenly treated as being based on the scientific method. This is a very good yardstick with which to judge how many of today's sciences are actually based on the scientific method and as true sciences. نعم. From the modern day, pseudosciences are man-made, global warming, climate change, and virology effects are turned into causes and models and simulations on computer used to make forecasts and predictions or to generate theoretical Darwinian variant scarians. There is no implementation of the scientific method, only sleight of hand techniques in manipulation of data or in experimental procedures, as is the case with the virology. But then, the claim that the scientific method is the only way to establish truth and fact is false. For this claim to be true, we will have to demonstrate that it satisfies itself. Meaning, has this claim been validated by the scientific method itself? When was this done? Where are the experiments following the steps of the scientific method proving that the only way to establish truth and fact to arrive at knowledge is by the scientific method. This claim cannot meet its own experiment and thus it is false. Total fact can be known through other means besides the scientific method. I believe the scientific method is distinct from the philosophy or religion known as scientism, in which it is claimed that the science is the only route to knowledge and truth and can provide all the answers and solutions to all life's questions, problems, including issues of ethics and morals. Scientism is a religion of illuminists and techno-feudalists. They believe that through science and technology they will eventually discover secrets of immortality, as well as hacking and controlling nature, biology, allowing them thereby to become lords and gods of a people. This is the religion of Freemasonry. These people are the worshippers and allies of Iblis, whom they consider the light bearer Lucifer, the revealer of hidden knowledge which the Creator kept from mankind. I now, number 12, science can and has been captured by money, power, and turned into a cartel and dictatorship. US President Eisenhower warned of this decades ago, yet in holding scientific research and discovery in respect. As we should, we must also be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific technological elite. Writing in the Articulture of Modern Political Power, Daniel Posner details the tactics used by the rich and powerful to maintain their dominance over decades and centuries. From them is ostensible control over the knowable by marketing institutionally accredited science as the only path to true understanding. Control over what is knowable has long been recognized as one of the greatest tools of power. Than weapons such as guns and bombs, is how the rich and powerful, sometimes representing as philanthropists, get away literally with wealth, extraction from nations, embezzlement, fraud, even murder and other crimes. By disguising and marketing what they claim and what they do as the science, when it is in the reality brought and paid for science, not genuine science. The anatomy of the scientific method is treated through an example. Number 1, for example, if sea voyagers repeatedly fall sick on long sea journeys and show symptoms of bleeding gums and impaired skin and hair and frequently die, we can suspect numerous causes and generate hypothesis assessment. So here we have made an observation and will proceed to make a hypothesis. Number 2, we might say it is a diet related and say vitamin C is vital for the production of collagen and its integrity in humans. Vitamin C deficiency therefore will cause the symptoms of this disease scurvy. This is the hypothesis statement. This is a testable statement. If it is not testable in the real world, it is not real science. Number 3, check whether this hypothesis is true or false. We have to conduct an experiment and then repeat it many times to get consistent and reliable data. Then we have to make a logical analysis with sound reasoning to interpret the results correctly. Number 4, we have all the ingredients of the scientific method: observation of a phenomenon, hypothesis statement that we can test and falsify. Testability must be testable. Empiricism must involve experimentation. Repetition, experimental results must be repeated. Sound valid reasoning for correct interpretation of the results. Data. 5, we create two hypotheses which are opposite to each other. They are mutually contradicting and mirror images of each other. 9, hypothesis: the lack of vitamin C during long sea voyages will not cause scurvy. Alternative hypothesis: the lack of vitamin C during long sea voyages will cause scurvy. Number 5, in our experiment, our aim is to falsify the null hypothesis and prove the alternative hypothesis. This is the goal of every experiment in the scientific method of inquiry. 6, vitamin C is an independent variable, the cause in our experience, which we will manipulate, meaning include it and exclude it. The disease called scurvy is the dependent variable. Effect whose connection is to the cause is being tested. We also introduce controls into the experiment to make sure our results are reliable and are actually testing for the specific cause effect relationship we are interested in and not confounded by other factors. Without controls, everything is invalid. Conducting the experiment. 1. So we'll be prepared to ships each with 500 people of similar age, background and healthy status, and this is the aspect of control in our experiment. we are making sure that sure other factors are not at play in producing the effect, that we are isolating the variable that we are specifically testing for, the independent variable or the presumed case. Number two, in one ship they are given provisions which are devoid of vitamin C or of extremely negligible amounts. They will go on a month journey across the oceans to another continent. The second ship is given a very large supply of orange, lemons, limes, and the likes, or vitamin C powder, sachet, or tablet. They are told to consume a certain amount on a daily basis. The rest of the diet is the same on both ships. They will leave at the same time through the same route, so they experience the same conditions at sea. So here we are controlling all other factors to make sure that we are isolating the independent factor in the experiment, which is the vitamin C intake. The now assistant on the other side of the ocean check the travelers on both ships for scurvy and its symptoms from the data. If there is a significant difference, such that on the first ship 50% got scurvy and in the second ship only 5% got scurvy, for example, then we have falsified the null hypothesis and proven our alternative hypothesis. However, we will have to repeat this experiment a certain number of times to make sure we got consistent result and to account for any other possible confounding factors which we may not have considered. Number 3. From here we can then establish a cause-effect relationship by making if-then statement. If there is a vitamin C deficiency, then sky will resolve. So we have established a cause-effect relationship in a phenomenon that was repeatedly observed. Now further hypotheses can be generated to keep exploring and investigation more and more aspects of the phenomenon if needed. Summary. أيوة. Summary. Through the above, we have given you the alternative of the scientific method through an example and explained the basic terminology. Contrary to what is claimed, the common people can very easily distinguish science from pseudoscience. They claim that they are very clever people who can say things that can be understood or questioned, but that is not true. The scientific method is easily grasped, and when scientific claims are made, it is fairly straightforward to ascertain whether these claims were verified and proven by the correct application of the scientific method. You can ask anyone who makes scientific claims for the evidence they base it on. Number one, ask them, where can I see or read about the physical real-world experiment that were done to justify these claims? Ask them for the independent and dependent variables. Ask them to define exactly what they mean by the words and phrases they are using. Point out any ambiguities. To ask them what controls were, if any, and how the cause-effect relationship was proven through proper isolation of the independent variable, and how all confounding factors were eliminated in the experiment. Number 3, likewise ask whether it was repeated and confirmed by others, and if the interpretation of the data is subjective or objective, is based on sound reasoning and logical principles, and so on. Number 4, likewise you can ask for all the assumptions that have been made in the experiment and which have not themselves been verified through the scientific method. A lot of the deception in the use of scientific studies and claims in astronomy or evolution or other fields is sitting right here, where lots of assumptions have been made but not fully disclosed in reporting and interpretation. Notes and observation. Number 1, there are some problems and limitations to the scientific method which are acknowledged and discussed in the philosophy of science. These include the problem of induction and the use of logical fallacies, such as affirming the consequence, also predictions rather than falsification. Tests are given emphasis is because theories are much more vulnerable to falsification tests and can be invalidated by a single test. On the other hand, they can be propped up by hundreds of unsuccessful predictions. Conjectural cosmology and evolution beliefs rely heavily upon the affirming the consequent biological facts in the field of prediction testing. Number 2, induction is defined in the Oxford English Dictionary as the process of inferring general law or principle from the observation of particular instances. And in inductive reasoning, generalizations are made from limited number of observations. There is a movement from the specific to the general. As a result, inductive reasoning is susceptible to false conclusions. Number 3, science and the fallacy of affirming the conquest. To illustrate this fallacy, consider the following argument: if P it is raining, it is true. The condition then Q is wet is true. The consequence P it is raining is true. Affirm the condition. Therefore Q is wet it is wet is true. Affirm the consequence. This is a valid form of argument. However, turning things around gives a fallacious argument. If P it is running is true, then Q it is wet. It is wet it is true, affirming the consequent first. Therefore, P it is running affirm the condition. If you affirm the consequent Q it is wet, the condition P it is running is not necessarily true, because the ground being wet can have many other explanations besides rain. This is the most common logical error in evolution and cosmology beliefs, and is the root through which non-scientific conjectures are foisted upon people as facts. Here is an illustration of the fallacy. If I eat pizza, I will feel full. This is the antecedent hypothesis. Let me test my hypothesis by checking whether I feel full or not. Yes, I feel full. The consequent the test result. Therefore, I eat pizza. My conclusion validating my hypothesis. Aywa. This reasoning is fallacious because I am claiming to have eaten pizza simply by affirming that I feel full without having empirically proven this through direct observation or evidence. I have not proven anywhere that my instance of feeling full was unequally tied to consumption of pizza inclusive to other foods such that feeling full can be used to support the claim of having specifically eaten pizza. Have I assumed that feeling full necessarily follows from eating pizza inclusive to other foods? That feeling full can be due to consumption of a range of other things besides pizza, such as steak or large sandwich. 4. It will be useful to illustrate how this fallacy is used in cosmology and evolution. In cosmology, if the Big Bang is true, we should see cosmic background radiation. We have detected cosmic background radiation permitting the universe, therefore the Big Bang is true. The error here is that the detection of background radiation permitting the universe does not prove the Big Bang, as other explanations are replaceable which have not been exhausted and empirically ruled out. Further, no empirical evidence has been shown that the Big Bang is actually true. In evolution, if biological evolution, natural selection acting on random mutation in DNA is true, we should see homology, physical and genetic similarities in biological organism. We see homology, therefore natural selection acting on random mutations in DNA is true. No empirical proof has been established here that natural selection acting on random mutations actually produce a homology. It is simply being asserted through a logical fallacy, and the claim has not been empirically proven. The two illustrations above are a textbook logical fallacy argument in body. Yeah. Ati? Eh? Wow. In this case, it is proposed that background radiation was caused by the Big Bang and homology is caused by natural selection, acting on random mutations and the antecedent the hypothesis or predictions, and then the detection of background radiation and observance of homology. The consequent the test findings are used to prove the causal effect, when in fact no causal effect has been proven at all and no empirical evidence has been presented for the hypothesis whatsoever. It's assumed by simply affirming the consequent a logical fallacy. There could be other explanations, none of which are implemented by the reasoning in this logical fallacy. Prediction testing is relied upon heavily in the scientific method, especially in the conjecture science such as cosmology and evolution, while its falsification test of the primary actions and core elements of these theories are never carried out. One can make 100 successful predictions through the use of the affirming the consequent or logical fallacy, but a single falsification of the primary action or core theoretical element can render the entire theory false and obsolete. Allah musta'an wallahi. Evolution and cosmologists mischaracterize their theories or reframe them when it comes to falsification tests to avoid falsifying the primary actions that everything rests upon. Much of what is alleged to be in science relies exclusively on prediction testing in order to validate hypotheses or theories, coupled with the fallacy of affirming the consequent. This approach can lead people to believing things which are far removed from actual reality, while deceiving themselves all along that they are gaining more and more certainty. Number 5. Science as in the scientific method of inquiry is not the private dominion or monopoly of any individual, scientist, body, institution, or government, as this pertains to the beneficial interest of mankind and its inversion in scope. No one can claim to have and own the science, and all claims are subject to scrutiny, falsification, and validation. Ultimately, it is the evidence that remains supreme. In a way, it is a bit like the science of validating an authentic prophetic traditions and report. Ilm al-Hadith, there is an objective standard and set of criteria through which all claims of authenticity can be validated. This science is not owned by anybody, by no individual, institution, or government, and criticism scrutiny is an ongoing affair. This ensures error and falsehood continue to be eliminated from our knowledge understanding. However, keeping in mind what was mentioned earlier, control over what is knowable brings with it tremendous power as it allows falsification of reality. Among things, there was a time when enough people were independently doing science using the scientific method to enable claims and theories to be scrutinized and evaluated. However, since that time, a monopoly system has been erected where philosophy, ideology, business, and profit determines the nature of scientific truth. Science is mostly in the hands of money power, which in turn controls business, education, and politics. 6. Thus, one has to remain highly skeptical about this accepted science in various fields of knowledgeable. In fact, rigorous skepticism is actually a fundamental component of the scientific method itself. The Tibet writes in How the Great Scientists Reason under the chapter heading Element of Scientific Thinking, Skepticism, Careful Reasoning, and Exhaustive Evolution are all vital. Skepticism has an even more important role to play than helping us unravel deliberate lies. It arms us to question the honest errors that are so lamentably prevalent in the books, newspapers, electronic media, and the well-meaning words we hear every day. A careful researcher quickly learns that even the scientific literature, despite heroic efforts of editors, reviewers, and others, is filled with oversimplifications, overgeneralizations, and mistakes. Healthy skepticism is the necessary forerunner of truth. The fields cannot be sown with productive crops unless the woodless weeds are first uprooted. Number 7 far to be above the famous physicist and scientific Richard Feynman said, as a matter of fact, I can also define science another way. Science is the belief in the ignorance of experts. When someone says science teaches such and such, is using the word incorrectly. Science doesn't teach anything. Experience teaches it. If they say to you science has shown such and such, you might ask, how does science show it? How does scientists find out how, what, where it should not be? Science has shown, but this experiment, this effect, and has shown. And you have as much right as anyone else upon hearing about the experiment, but be patient and listen to the all evidence to judge whether a sensible conclusion has been arrived. Allahumma sallim sallim. Paul Feyerabend, one of the most influential philosophers of science in the 20th century, said, ref in his book Against Method, V11, I think that one is 5678, that edition. Science should be taught as one view among many and not as the one and only road to truth and reality. In his book, Feyerabend presents the argument that there are no universally valid methodological rules for scientific inquiry. Sheikh Islam bin Taymiyyah said something similar in relation to evidence and argument in his refutation of the logicians and philosophers. He said that what constitutes evidence does not rely in any one particular thing or form of argument. He explained the error of the logicians when they claim the truth that the truth can only be decided by and restricted to a particular method.